For people who grew up with little money, what always felt like a luxury. I am from a small island in the Pacific. While I mostly still take cold showers, I have always felt that a hot shower is the finest luxury one can experience. I had my first hot shower when I was 22 years old and I can never forget it. This is the kind of luxury I think people take for granted. I always avoided showers in the winter as a kid since most of the time they were cold showers and the temperature here was around 12°C during those times. For sure. I've never been without heated water, but I kind of annoy my wife in the winter when we shower because every time we go in I make a comment about how amazing it is to be able to just turn a knob and have hot water coming out of pipes. I mean, having clean, running water at all is a miracle in and of itself, but taking a hot shower whenever I want is something not even the richest people of yesteryear could get. I think about that too. I have spices that my ancestors never dreamed of. I can waste potable water by washing my hair with it. I never have to wait more than a few seconds for hot water. Bro, the weirdest thing for me is that I shit in clean drinkable water every day. I just ducking shit in it, it's so abundant. I'm seeing quite a few buildings going up where I live that use recycled water for toilets and garden taps. Going out for pizza was a big deal. Those free mini pizzas for reading books were huge. 3 cheers for the Book It program. Yes. Did it for the free pizza. Kept doing it because I grew to actually enjoy reading. The system works. A meal out in a restaurant, not even a fancy one. McDonald's. I knew we were living well when my parents took me through the drive-thru. No Happy Meals though. It's cheaper to get a hamburger and fries. You have toys at home. Happy Meals were a birthday treat for me. Mom didn't get herself anything. Told me she wasn't hungry. I didn't understand until I was older. That one dawned on me about 3 years after I had graduated college, moved out and had my own well-paying job. Went to a grocery store and saw a kid excitedly pointing at a bag of chips. The mom's face dropped, then opened her purse and dug out enough coins for the bag of chips. I realized my mom had done that countless times while I was growing up, and I realized why we played a game to guess how much the cart was going to be before checking out. By the time I was 12 I was constantly within 50 cents off, including tax and sales. The bag of chips story reminds me of my dad. Cool story, bro incoming. My dad grew up in poverty. He was still broke a lot as an adult, and he made sure I was always cared for, but the knowledge of money being tight still filtered through. He told me one day he'd seen a mother and her young daughter getting a hot dog. The daughter wanted chips, the mom opened her purse and counted her money, and gave a sad, "I'm sorry, we don't have enough." My dad paid for their meal, chips included, even though he didn't have all that much himself. It was a story, one of many he told me, that made me choose to be more like him. Years later, I'm financially comfortable, but those lessons stuck. There was a homeless woman begging near the door of a restaurant I passed by. I asked if she'd eaten and she said no, so I bought her dinner as well. When I was checking out, I thought for a second, then bought a gift card so there'd be 2 less meals she'd have to worry about. I gave her the food, we talked for a little bit, and, when I got back to my car, I heard her shout, "Thank you." After, I presume, she found the gift card. My dad is still alive, but he's been gone for almost a decade now because of severe dementia. I sat in the car and cried after that, because I remembered the story about the little girl and the chips for the first time in decades, and it felt like my dad was sitting right beside me. Cool story, bro. But in a sincere, not sarcastic way. You and your old man sound like pretty decent folk. Grew up poor, and when I was a kid I used to think you were rich if you had a dishwasher and a millionaire if you had one of those refrigerators that have a button for ice. McDonald's was also a luxury, a couple times a year on our birthdays. My husband also says this about refrigerator ice. We moved to a house with an ice dispensing refrigerator and he said, "I feel rich now." My uncle renovated his kitchen recently and had an ice dispensing fridge put in because it's fancy and rich like on American TV. My uncle got an ice machine that does tiny cubes like Sonic. Now that's fancy living. Summer camp, or basically any school trips that had to be paid for. At my school the kids who couldn't afford to go on trips that happened during school hours still had to come to the school. We just sat in a room and did extra work like it was detention. I was lucky. If you taught at the day camp your kid could go for free. That was just day camp though, not sleepaway camp. My mom found a camp teacher who had no kids of his own and he signed me up as his kid so I could get free day camp. Did that all through elementary school. What a wonderful man that he signed you up. After growing up in a home where every unexpected problem was a financial emergency, my idea of wealthy became I just want enough money that if something breaks I don't get anxiety about how to deal with it. Hashtag X200B, edit, thank you all. Having the heating on. We used to go to bed in our sleeping bags in winter, which was really cool back then, pretty depressing now. Getting new clothes at Christmas from relatives. I don't know if that is exactly a luxury or the kind of answer you are looking for, but we never had a lot of money when I was in middle school. I went an entire year wearing the same pants every day. The funny thing was my parents didn't even buy them for me. I got them for Christmas from my grandparents. All the kids used to give me so much shit for wearing the same pants every day. I always told them that I had 5 of the same pair, which made me feel good inside and kind of made them ease off, even though I know they didn't believe me. I remember I fell on the school bus one day and the jagged floor cut a hole right in the kneecap, and the panic that went over me was just insane. It was one of the worst feelings of my whole life because I knew that I didn't have any other pants to wear and that now all of the kids in my school were going to know that I only had one pair. Needless to say, I could not wait for the last month of school to end. Hashtag X200B, edit, just want to say thank you for all of the awards. I honestly didn't think that this comment would really mean much to anyone, but I can see that I was defiantly not alone in my situation growing up. I appreciate everyone sharing their support and stories. This did have a great impact on my life and it shaped who I am in a lot of ways. Thank you all again for sharing your stories and support. At the end of the season, sometimes the grocery store would have pecked baskets of peaches on sale for a dime to clear them out before they went bad. And if mom had a spare dime, she'd buy them and tell us to eat all we wanted. Normally fruit was limited to 1 a day if there was any at all. Man, we'd hit those peaches like a plague of locusts. Gonna get me a whole big bunch of grapes off a bush, or whatever, and I'm gonna squash 'em on my face and let 'em run off in my chin. Was totally expecting gonna eat me a lot of peaches. I grew up broke and am incredibly fortunate to have money as an adult. Meals out when I was a kid were huge. I think I only really remember 3 in my whole childhood, so as an adult who does largely whatever I like, going out to dinner still thrills me, always get dressed up, make the most of it, etc. Same, had never tried most types of food until I went to college. Now going out to new restaurants and trying new cuisines never fails to make me happy. When my grandma would come pick me up and spoil me. My parents didn't have much money and were addicts, so when my grandma would come get me I would come back with new clothes, video games, toys, etc. I used to think my grandma was rich, but she actually just had a stable income. Thank God for grandma. Kraft macaroni and cheese as opposed to store brand. Soda out of a can. Any restaurant where you sit down and get a menu. Having the AC on in the car. Just getting some goddamn crafts, man. I was the kid you could entertain the rest of the night with popsicle sticks, glitter, and glue. You know what I never got to do? Crafts, because the only popsicle sticks we ever got were none. The glue was for school only. Don't let your friends borrow your glue crayon pencils, we can't buy more till income tax, and glitter meant more electricity vacuuming it up. I am now a grown woman with a craft room that sparkles like a dragon hoard. I make Martha Stewart weep. New clothes. Pretty much had to make everything last, and while I'm not proud of it, I did a lot of shoplifting as young teen. I always look back and think how I really lucked out that the dirty punk look was super in when I was a teen. I basically based my whole style around it and people thought I was just being fashionable, but I was just really ducking poor Lamau. I wasn't too into grunge, but I sure pulled off that look without trying.